All right, welcome back to the Happiest Sad Person Podcast. Allie here, your host, and then with me again is my brother Nate. How are you doing?
Not too bad. It's been we just talked about it, pretty good day so far. Pretty typical though. They're all just kind of blending together.
Groundhog Day times 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's weird. I am usually today was the first day in a while where I felt like the routine was kind of getting to me. Because normally I like the certainty of oh, you're home, this is what you do in a loop. You know what I mean? And weirdly enough, today I was antsy.
Yeah, it's tough too, I think, because even if you have a schedule, I feel like you usually have something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Like a trip somewhere, or you're going to go to, I don't know, like a certain restaurant, but you don't even have that, I don't know, that one thing each week, or that big thing every few months that you're going to do. I guess you could. As people, you could still travel. You can't really, I guess you could still get, whatever you like delivered, but it's not really fun eating just in your living room when you could
Well, yeah, I think
go out.
you need a change of scenery. I forget what comedian or someone says, I think it was Larry David. He's we all just need to leave our house here. That's the only reason why we all socialize. We just need to leave our house.
Yeah.
He's like the original curmudgeon. But I was thinking today, I'm always backlogged with emails. Always. I just find them so exhausting. Today I did I still need to do the other half of my emails, but I did half that I needed to do. Do you think emails are the most soul-sucking things in the world? I just realized today, I'm this is what I do. I put off all my emails because I just hate doing them.
What emails do you have to do though? On an app, what are you responding to?
Some are social in nature. Some are I had to get back to a literary magazine today about doing potentially a translation for something else that I wrote. Just a few other work-ish related stuff, but it wasn't pressing time-wise. I ordered a water bottle and they sent me the wrong color combination, so I had to email them back. Just those little things, but they're so tedious.
Yeah, I guess outside of just work email, I don't think I ever get any emails.
Really?
Outside of just, the normal back and forth work emails from 8-ish to 5-ish. After that, maybe it's because I don't buy anything online. So I never have a problem with a product. I don't have an Amazon account. I don't buy anything online. No, I buy nothing. So maybe I'd have to write more, I guess maybe emails if I got wrong product, but I feel even that can't happen that often.
That's funny that that's your rationale because you don't buy things online. That rarely happens. That's not really that common of a thing.
And I guess I would never email a friend. I don't have a friend that sends me.
People you keep in contact with, my old trainer and I, we email socially back and forth.
Yeah, I don't think I casually talk to anyone by email. So I guess that's the other reason. Yeah, no one.
Maybe and the other thing is I do a lot of submitting writing to literary magazines, so maybe this is all of my own doing. maybe this complaint I have isn't a natural problem people have. It's just me putting this on myself.
I feel everyone usually dreads emails just because it's usually you have to reply to some, whatever work request you get or whatever someone needs you to pull. But I feel frequent emails for all these other things, is definitely not the norm.
Huh. Yeah, well, maybe that's the same way why I find text messages to be so exhausting, because it's you're on call socially, and I don't like that feeling. Because
Yeah,
once you
time
answer an
limit.
email, then they assume if they answer within the next half an hour, then you should be answering right back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's more pressure to respond to someone pretty quick when you text than I feel like if you're emailing someone, I feel like you're not really expecting a fast response. You might as well send something by carrier pigeon at that point.
Again, maybe I'm doing this all wrong. Maybe I need to stop having email be a main way of communication for me. Maybe I do need to move to carrier pigeon. I feel like I would like that way more. It would give me way more leeway in getting back to people.
Yeah, you have like 3 months for your bird to get
Yeah.
there.
Well, I mean, sometimes I know this is bad. I'm not as bad as our mutual friend Jack. He won't answer people over like 6 months, but I can go a few months with not getting back to certain people. Like if I like my one friend Emily, we won't answer each other's text messages for like 2 months, and we just unspoken, like we're busy. If it's important, send a question mark saying, hey, did you get my message? Otherwise, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, but I guess like no one's ever that busy where they can't get to it. And I feel like, there are people who are bad at texting, but all they do is go on their phone all day. So I'm surprised, like I feel like after a certain limit, like after 3 days, is it almost like not even worth responding?
Oh no, I'll do it and I'll think about it all day long when I don't do it. Like if I have a text message, like I have 2 texts to get back to tonight. I've been thinking about them all day long.
So when you don't respond to someone for 2 months, you're technically thinking about that person for 2 months?
Yes.
So that's its own form of endearment. Like that person was on your mind for 2
Well,
months.
honestly, it truly is, but there's also a level of like sadness to that where it's like, why can't I think I also like want to answer it correctly, and I also like don't want to open up the possibility of like, again, being available immediately, because a text is way different than an email. Like you have to be available via text. If you send someone a text and they text you back 2 minutes later.
Yeah, you can't just walk away. I mean, you could walk away, but it'd be kind of rude.
Yeah, but then I have another text message to worry about for 2 months.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so panic-inducing for me, but it really is. I find texting to be extremely stressful. You don't think that?
I guess I probably don't text that much. I mean, it comes and goes. Like, maybe I'll talk to, like, maybe text a few people some days, and then I'll talk to a couple other people the next, but it's not like, I'm not texting all day. I don't, like, communicate, I guess, that. I guess if I'm going to text you, it won't be, like, most of my texts won't be like, oh, hey, how's it going? It's like, usually there's some sort of, like, some purpose I'll need.
That's how everyone should be, because I hate when there's no end in sight. Do you know what I mean? When you're texting with somebody, it's like there's no end. Like, what's the purpose?
Yeah, and no one wants to leave a text open, be the last one to leave it open. So then you keep if you say something to me, I'll be obligated to say something back, and then you'll feel obligated to say something back, so no one knows when it ends.
Exactly.
And then if no one reached out for a good reason, then like there's no way to close it out. Like if no one really says, I'll see you later, over, like you're not gonna like say, okay, bye, over text. Like you don't really have.
Yeah, that's like not a thing people do.
Yeah, so if I don't really. Some people also, I feel like, they'll text like 6 people at once just because they like, maybe that's because some people are just more extroverted. They like, even if you're not with someone, they always want to have conversations going, like even texting.
So
and I don't really do that. Yep. I probably just talk to like one person at a time.
Well, yeah, also you would overlap people's messages. Like that would just be confusing to me. I also have a terrible habit. I probably only have half the people in my phone, their number saved. So most people, it's just a phone number, not a name. So I would be confused with who it was.
Yeah, I feel that's like kind of saying like if you're at a party or get together, like when you say goodbye, it'd almost be better if the Irish goodbye was the standard.
Or we
Whenever
just
you're done, you just go home. Like you talk to who you wanted to talk to, and that's it. It is kind of weird. You're kind of expected to kind of go around, give a hug goodbye, like go out to like all 20 or 30 people. It is kind of weird where I think some people, if you just walk out, it's kind of like a rude thing. But I would rather that be the norm.
I'll say goodbye to the people in my vicinity and the person hosting the party. But
Yep, whoever you talk to last. And then when you're walking out, whoever you walk by, yeah, you shouldn't have, like, you say goodbye to them, but you shouldn't have to go to these other rooms and, like, make a point of your farewell.
Well, yeah, because big goodbyes and big hellos, it just seems so unnecessary. And just, I don't know, gratuitous and weird. Yeah, I try to sneak into a party and then sneak out of a party. And then I also feel like people enjoy your presence more because I'm like, oh, where'd Allie go? She disappeared. Like, oh, that's, you know what I mean? It makes you more mysterious and more, like, elusive and wanted in a social situation.
I guess.
I don't know, that's how I prefer being more like a rarity. You know, like the holographic Pokemon card. I prefer being that at a party rather than, like, the Pikachu that's loud and, you know, stands on the table and say goodnight and goes, goodnight, you know what I mean, does a little speech. Like, I have no interest in that sort of behavior.
Mhm.
But there are some people that are like that. And that's like, you know, the whole hug goodnight, you know, hug hello, the whole, like, over the top dramatic affection.
Yep.
But yeah, I like how this went from emails to greetings to, I feel like we was it Emily Post? Was she the person, the old fashioned writer that talked about, like, decorum and, like, greetings and those sorts of things? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No idea.
Okay. Well, I think that's her. I think she was, like, from, like, the early 1900s, maybe. I don't know. And she would, like, you would get all your letter writing skills and how to behave from her, I believe. But so you know, my list of discussion points are always so haphazard. But I was just thinking the other day, you'll probably know or have an idea for this question, because I want to get into. You can tell me if this is the right term. Broad index funds.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you mean by that.
So like a group of stocks that are more
Yeah.
safe. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the origin of that, though, like, I would have never known about this unless I watched a lot of financial independence, you know, the FIRE movement part of YouTube, and found blogs, and I've really gone on a deep dive with it. Do you think that there is, like, an inherent divide that's going to be happening? Like, there's an education divide between people that go to college, people that don't, kids that are in good schools and bad schools. Do you think there's, like, a divide in wealth of families where a poor family or middle class, lower middle class simply will not be exposed to that sort of education because their family is not investing or doing things?
Oh, 110%. That's like, I've never read it, but that Rich Dad Poor Dad book, I think, is like the most popular. It's one of the most popular finance books, and it kind of like that's what it talks about. Basically, like one kid, I think one kid's dad. I think it's supposed to talk about kind of his childhood, where like his dad was quote unquote the poor dad, like worked like, very smart, like very well educated. So it had nothing to do with almost your like formal education. It was more like your, I guess what financial literacy. So his dad was very smart, had a good job, you know, like worked for the government, and always told his son like get a government job. And they always struggled. He's like, even though my dad always worked, like we always like just had enough. And his whole thing was like, work hard and it'll pay off. Like put the hours in. And he's like, then I had my friend's dad who was a business owner, and he was the rich dad. And he's like, this guy always talked about like making your money work for you type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, poor dad taught his son, he's like, always get a house. A house is one of the best investments because after you pay your 30-year mortgage off, you'll own this piece of real estate. And then the rich dad looks at a house as like a liability. He looks at a house as a bad investment. You should only get like a house, like you should look to buy a home if you'll get cash flow from it.
So rental property.
So everything's based on like, basically the rich dad example is like passive income. Always find ways for like you can invest and then your money work for you. And like the other mentality is more like kind of like you're always trying to get an hourly wage. You're always trying to get paid something, just paid a set amount of money for your job and have one stream of income. And then you buy the car, the house, which is all these liabilities, instead of having like 3 or 4 streams of income, and not purchasing like the liability piece. But yeah, they say like right now, the stock market's going up, well, like almost back to normal, and they have all these people who lost their job and are like struggling financially. And it's kind of like when the stock market goes up, that's good for wealthier people who actually have money invested because they're doing better. But when the stock market goes up, it doesn't really help all those people who don't have anything invested. Like all that matters to them is how the economy's doing because they don't have anything in the market, so they're not winning. But everyone who already has a ton of money just keeps winning.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why they say the billionaires during the pandemic have made, another $600+ billion so far throughout all this. Yeah, I've always found the basis of solely the stock market as a barometer for the current economic climate to be so, with the little knowledge that I have about finances that I'm slowly trying to expand on, it seems so one note. Does that make sense? Like you were saying, like it doesn't show the full picture for the people in poverty, the people lower middle class that just don't participate really in truly investing. And I feel like that's a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's probably shocking how many people it is because I guess it's like always kind of like a taboo thing, right? Like in high school, I mean, I know some schools have like personal finance classes and
yeah, I had personal finance, but it was considered the dumb kids math.
Well, I took it as an elective, and then we were taught how to balance a checkbook and stuff like that. Like basically, it's super archaic stuff. Like as a high school student, not only do you like not even really, maybe you have a checkbook, but now like I haven't written a check in years. Like no one even uses checks. I'm sure it's changed a little bit, but it was like just super outdated. And then at college, you learn about, like even if you go for business, like statistics and all this economics classes and how like large companies operate. But you never really have a class, or at least I never had a class on like how do you manage your money? Like after you leave, how will you manage your loans and finances and your house and car and job and investing? Like you would think you'd have to take a mandatory class on that. Like I had to take all these electives like history of jazz. So the fact that I had to take a jazz class, they thought, but I didn't have to take a class that would probably help me for the rest of my life. It's crazy. Like, and then at home, usually with your
is it done on purpose so that there can just be people that don't know how money works and people that are rich can stay in power?
I think people are just nervous to talk about it because it's so like.
Don't think about money, politics, or religion.
Yeah, I mean, even at home, I feel like parents and their kids don't really talk about it. Like, it's basically like your mom or dad saying, sure, you can get there, no, we can't afford it. But like as a kid, I feel like you don't really know, like, why not? Like,
Well, I don't know if home is the place to really learn.
I feel like it's the best
Especially
place
home.
you should be learning. I feel like it has to like start at home. Because then if it starts at home, I don't know, like it helps you understand probably like why things at home are the way that they are, like just why people act the way that they act, like, and it gives you an idea of like what stuff starts to cost. Like if you have that conversation with your parents, you'll know like what they have to go through to pay for the house, or like how they manage all the cars or loans. And then I feel like you could at least, even if they don't know, like they're not super knowledgeable about it, you can at least start getting an idea of like what it takes to run a household.
Yeah, I think that is a lofty expectation, and it sort of makes it a little too. First, I get where you're coming from because but on to a certain level, I do agree. But I would think of having more comprehensive lessons in a math class every year that involve age appropriately personal finance. So it's like a part of the built-in curriculum. So it's like just second nature where you're like, oh, these 4 weeks we're going to learn about, money stuff. So when I grow up, I know how to spend my money properly. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it starts with being built into the curriculum, which then becomes built into the culture. And then it's like second nature for, the next generation of kids.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think you're better off getting educated by someone who knows about it in a school environment, but I think if it was talked about like at homes more, it would be like less taboo for it to be mentioned in school.
Mhm. I just don't think so many parents are equipped to.
No, you're right. Definitely not. And that's probably why it's just not talked about.
Or I just know certain people's parents. I know I would not want my financial lessons to be coming from mom and dad, especially my. I don't look at them as beacons of.
Well, I guess it's not so much like lessons as far as like, I mean, maybe it is. But like, say your parents are really good with money and they teach you like, I don't know, like how to invest or how to manage this and that, then it's good advice. But even if they're not good with money, then you might learn, oh, like this, you might learn like what doesn't work, I guess. It's
Well,
still like a good learning experience.
I think that's what a lot of people do now. I think a lot of it now is mirroring what not to do. Would you not agree?
In
most households,
general, yeah, I think most people are like, it's probably like the super high level thing of like, this is my current living situation. Like as a kid, when I'm older, usually it's just like, I want more, right?
Mhm.
But then I guess people are learning like, if you're a kid, maybe if you weren't able to get some 4-year college degree and your parent always worked like night shifts, and they're never around to like go to your sporting events or take you to games, then you might be like, oh, I want to like go to school so I can have a job where I just work, like I'm done at 5 o'clock, like I have normal hours so I can do stuff when I'm older, like I never have to be busy every night. So like maybe like that like gives you drive to, like you know what it was like to live in that, and you want something different, and then these are the steps to get there.
Yeah, but then again, I think it goes back to then no matter how you're raised, there's always going to be that divide, and there's always going to be the leg up for the kids that are shown, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book comparison. You know what I mean? It's still
You always
those
have
kids up ahead.
100%. I mean, no doubt. I think you could. I mean, even if you come from any, I mean, anyone can make of their situation what they want, right? Even if you don't come from anybody, like you can try to find books and learn about it, but it's just gonna be so much harder. You're not gonna have the tools to start. you're not really going to have any mentors where someone else might, or like role models that are in a situation of like being successful financially to like help guide you. Like you're not going to have any of that maybe. So it's so much. So I guess you say leg up. Yeah, it's so much harder if you don't have that.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see, especially with this sort of economic downturn that's happening, what the new financial culture is going to be. Is it going to be more of an open book situation, or if it's going to become more like even more closed off and not talked about and even more taboo?
Yeah, I don't know. So what, you're thinking about considering like investing like in index funds if you're going to put something in the market?
Yeah, I mean, I have stuff I have a few choice stocks in Robinhood, and those are all going well. But I thought, because I watched a video about this British YouTuber that is well versed when it comes to finances, and she was basically like, if I was starting from zero, how would I invest £1,000? And her first risky idea would be peer-to-peer lending through have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay, through like a site or service. And then to balance out that riskiness, she would do an index fund where, you know how they work, but there's a mixture of stocks, and then it sort of, if one goes up, the other one can go down. So it balances it out. So it's just a safer way to invest. And so that's just something I want to look into. I mean, I'm probably going to ask you for for help to go about doing that, because I don't quite know the actual process of doing it.
Yeah, there's a fund. It's called, the stock symbol is ITOT.
Okay.
It's a big index fund that basically tracks the performance of the entire market as a whole.
Hmm.
So, like, there's large cap stocks, mid cap stocks, and small cap stock funds.
Mhm.
Large cap are the massive ones like Apple, Amazon, ExxonMobil. Then you have your mid cap funds. Now, I think I'm not 100% here. I think large cap companies are ones that make over like $10 billion a year.
Okay.
I think mid cap make like 2 billion to 9 something billion, and I think small cap are like anything that's less. So I think it's based on the revenues they bring in. So the large cap, so the total market index fund puts in large cap, mid cap, and small cap stocks. So you're kind of investing in everything from small companies that have a lot of growing potential, the big ones that aren't going to grow as fast, but they're going to pay you dividends.
Okay.
And so like, that wouldn't be a bad one to throw money in, and you'll never have to look at it. Like, as long as the U.S. economy, I guess as a whole, grows, which, if you're investing for the future, like 30 years or something, like, it's hard to, like, it's going to grow. Like, things are going to get bigger, bigger, better. So it's kind of like a no-brainer, like, in 30 years, for you to not show steady returns, some massive disaster would have to occur, which, if you invested anywhere at that point, you'd be losing.
Okay. So it's basically saying most likely it's one of the safest choices investing wise.
I guess bonds are safest choices are going to pay you. Like, if you invest in the total market, I think you should expect, I think they said with dividends reinvested, like roughly like 7 to 10% a year return, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you invest in something pretty conservative, it'd be less risky than that, but you might only get 2 or 3% a year. But the market's just like that's investing in the market as a whole is just a very generic, easy way to invest, and you're probably going to do pretty good. Did you know how they have, it's like investment fund managers, like those people in New York who make a ton of money with private funds that they control?
Yeah, see, I know the name, but I don't ever know what these people actually do.
So they make their own funds. They basically pick stocks that they like, put it in a fund, and then you buy that fund of their hand-picked stocks. Because they think they're able to pick a grouping of stocks that's going to outperform the general market. So you pay them fees.
So they're like curating. They're like they're almost like stylists, but for finance.
They're curating their own selection.
Oh.
So you're investing in the skill of those managers to make you more money than the general market would be, but for their services, you're paying them more of a higher fee. But like Warren Buffett always says, like Warren Buffett, I think was like, when I die, when the money I leave to my wife, I'm going to put 90% of it in the S&P 500 index fund. So a super generic fund that basically just tracks the performance of the 500 biggest companies in the U.S.
Uh-huh.
And like 10% in bonds. So the best financial guy is saying for his own wife, he would just put it in S&P 500 because it's so hard to outperform the general market. So you have all these guys who are investment fund managers who charge all these fees. You know, their whole job is finding the best companies. But even they, like you probably could outperform over half of them just by putting it in the general market.
Well, then how do these people still have jobs?
Exactly, yeah. It's crazy. A lot of people, like you have your 401k, like your retirement account, and if you work for a company, they'll usually give you so many index funds you can choose from, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a choice of maybe like 6 or 7 funds, and each of them has a different percentage fee associated with them. So a lot of people, they'll just pick these funds, and they might have 1% fee, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's over the years, that becomes a lot. It's a 1% fee on all your money. So, and then a lot of these super generic index funds that you're talking about, you can get into an index fund that's like 0.01% fees, like nothing, like next to nothing. But other people might be paying 1% or 100 times the fees you're paying for a worse performing fund, just because they don't know. Like you never were taught expense ratio fees, and like no one ever said the effect it can have over the long term. It's just like yours. It's a pure just education gap.
Huh. I love how this is turning into a finance podcast. But I don't know. I watched a video explaining the different levels of the FIRE movement and you know, like the lean living, I forget the delineation, but I just was so, I don't know, I went down a rabbit hole of financial videos. I'm like, oh, you know what? This is just something I need to know more about, because you can do less work and make more, have your money work for you. And on a laziness level, that speaks to my spirit and my soul. More time to do nothing? Absolutely.
I feel like anyone who would consider themselves like inherently lazy, like you should be the best with finances, because like the better you get with that, the lazier you can be. Like you could just sit back and make all the passive income, or
that's my goal. And the one thing I have running in my favor, I'm not very financially literate, but I am obsessive, and I do get really into things. So I feel like if I can get really into finance, this could be a game changer. Do you know what I mean? Because I can force myself to learn anything.
And it's interesting too, because you're learning about like companies you might like or buy stuff from.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you're better off maybe focusing on like one subset of an industry that you think you know pretty well, and then you could start. It might be easier to start getting into like the financial side of it.
Well, I mean, that's
because you're already kind of passionate about it.
Yeah, the stocks that I have, most of them are environmental stocks, and they've all been doing really well.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Like if you already want to learn about like electric cars, there's a ton of companies you can invest in, outside of Tesla that do all this other stuff for like electric car batteries and like
Oh,
electric
yeah.
hookups you can add to like delivery trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's wild how many little random, like the one company I invest in does the electrical mechanisms for because I guess some solar panels need some sort of electrical component to it, and so they do some random small electrical component for it, and that's just that company. That's what they do.
Yeah. And there's probably like 20 other things like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll keep in the same vein as my next sort of you brought this up actually because we had planned to record this episode. Filmed episodes will be coming. I still need to find a camera to use, but that'll be the next step. But this sort of goes along with it. You suggested this topic. Top 3 luxury products you would want if you invested that money and really made that bank.
Like top 3 things luxury things I'd buy if I had like unlimited money or if I had like a set amount of money.
Funny, you're the one that brought this up in your refining question. Well, let's say, I'm trying to think, should I do a yearly salary or let's say you make
No, or like say you come across a one-time gift of like X amount of money.
no, let's say you make $300,000 a year. What would be your top 3 like luxury products that you would really have and they would just make your day better, and to anyone else it would be expensive?
I think one would be a nice watch. It'd probably be a Patek Philippe watch, or I think it's called Audemars Piguet. There's like these 3 Swiss watches that I think would be like just one would be pretty cool. So I feel like I'd probably get one that's like, I don't know, maybe like a $15,000 watch.
Okay.
That'd be one thing.
Still conservative for the luxury watch market.
Yeah, I mean, if you get their nicest models, you could probably, if you get a vintage one, you could spend millions, right? But if you just got maybe their new release of one of their really, really complex watches, you could probably spend $250,000.
Oh my God.
But yeah, you could get a $15,000, I think, Patek Philippe used. But if you got it new at the store, I would think on average you'd probably pay like 20 to 30 grand, like for like just a normal base one.
That is wild.
I don't know. I think that'd be cool because it's one of those few things left that's like very much made by just really skillful people.
Mhm.
Like it's usually like your watch might be made by one watchmaker over the course of like days and days and days, where they cut each little intrinsic piece of your watch. I don't know of many, like I think there's not many handcrafted things like that left.
Yeah, I would say they're almost obsolete.
So I guess that would be one. So I already have a house at this point. Is that what you're assuming I already have?
You have a house. You have
The car?
But I mean, if that's really passion of yours, you have your basic necessities.
Okay. Gotcha. So I get my watch. I get one of those big Restoration Hardware couches, one of those big leather ones.
That's like 15 grand.
Yeah, exactly. Same price as my watch. Yeah, there's like
Okay.
15. That's what I would get. One of those massive couches.
Okay.
One of those like distressed leather ones. And then my third thing. Man, that's tough. What would my third thing be? Maybe like a cool little cigar room to put in my house.
It's gonna be a humidor, but large.
Yeah, with like a nice seating setup, like a
Mm-hmm.
nice TV, a little bar in the corner, maybe like a bookshelf, like an old school, like all wooden.
You picked very old money choices.
Yeah, so maybe I'm being subconsciously influenced by that
It's just funny.
overall vibe.
I have such a vision of like what that is. But no, I that seems also very you. So I think that's fitting.
What would you pick?
Let's see. Probably this is like I don't know why this came to my head, but I would pick I would allow myself to have there's a few sellers of vintage t-shirts that are very like specific and they can get very expensive, but they're really good quality and they're like vintage Rolling Stones like band t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like sometimes if you get a good one, you get like a classic like 60s, 70s Rolling Stone in a good condition. It can be, at some of these vintage stores up to $300-400.
Yep.
I would allow myself a rotating selection of like good vintage like t-shirt, like short sleeve t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, and sweatshirts.
So like every month you might get one.
Yeah, or if I see one that like, because they're one of a kind, if I'm like, oh, I want this one, I would not look at the price of it. I'd be like, oh, I'm just buying
Yeah,
it.
you just buy it.
But probably I'd also get rid of some and sell some. I mean, it would still also be sort of just rotated. Does that make sense? It's not even really, but I wouldn't be panicked about making my money back. You know what I mean? It would just be something that I enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, that's one.
What else? Um, I already have a house. Um, um, Funny, I've really been trying to cull my possessions and really like take a step back from like stuff. So I'm trying to think of like what I would want that's like tangible. Oh, you know what I would want? I would want a juice delivery service / like a meal program 3 days a week,
Okay.
where it would be like I would get them delivered in glass bottles to be sustainable. It would be extremely overpriced, but it would be healthy. It would be convenient, and then I wouldn't have to cook 3 days a week with a combination of like a food delivery service and then juices. So yeah, I mean that would probably be like I don't know, $200 a week maybe.
Okay, then what would be your third thing?
My third thing. I think of something that I would wanted for a while or that I would want. I'm like looking around my room right now and thinking like, what would I want like upgraded or fancy? Yours were so like expensive and like
You said luxury though. You said I was making $300,000 a year.
for me.
I already have a house and a car and stuff.
Yeah, but still, I mean, what I'm picking are T-shirts and shoes.
That was your pick. If that's luxury to you, that's
I mean, I'm just thinking of like what would make my life better and easier. You know what I mean?
but that's not exactly like luxury though.
Uh,
Because I assume most luxury things really like don't necessarily improve your life. Like a Birkin bag wouldn't really improve your life, but it's like a luxury good that you might want, right?
yeah, I guess what I would want would be it would kind of go along just the correct thing. I would want a 2-story library.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Like, you know those like I don't know, like modern houses that have like the full wall, like 2-story library.
With a ladder that so you get
Yeah.
to the high shelves.
Yeah, I would, and I could like pick new books out that I would like, and I could color coordinate them. I mean, it would be like a full hobby. I would find first, you know, not generations, first editions of books that I like, and it would just be something completely excessive. I wouldn't need it at all, but it would be, I don't know, something that would bring me joy and would be like a cool thing. If someone came into your house and saw that you had a 2-story library, they'd be like, oh, you're doing well for yourself.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. Those are 3 good ones.
Yeah, those would be my 3. Weird thing, I think our things are attainable. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, now I feel like excited. I'm like, oh, I can work for it to get those things.
Yeah.
You don't seem as optimistic.
No, I think I guess like I would think like if I like for me to get to the point where I would just casually be able to spend $15,000 on a couch, I think it could be attainable, but I think it would be really hard.
Hey, positive thoughts make things happen. Manifesting is the thing.
It's definitely part of it.
Listen, I manifested this podcast. I, for a long time, was doing scripting, which is like you write out your goals and you describe them to make it like happen. And look what's happening right now, recording a podcast.
True.
Crazier things have happened. We're living in a pandemic with civil unrest in America and Donald Trump is president. If that can happen, you can have a $15,000 couch in your house.
Thank you.
And I can have a full supply of T-shirts that have holes in them that I spent hundreds of dollars on. We can all attain our goals.
Preach.
I feel good about it. Okay, I see. It's funny how you were the one that came up with that question, and you acted as though it was like an absurd concept.
No, you have to set up the parameters though.
Okay.
When you say like, if I have unlimited money, it's definitely gonna change. But like,
Well, yeah. No, I hear you saying. Okay, and then I also want to bring this up because I've been thinking about this recently with the whole Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein thing. Again, kind of like, this is like a corporate finance business podcast today. What is it? Friends, don't they title every episode the one about whatever? This is the one about money.
I have no idea.
I haven't seen the show, so I just know that that's like I think that's all the title of their episodes. You can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Okay, so I don't know, with everything going on with the Epstein thing and the Ghislaine Maxwell, and you sparked my interest because you said contemporary modern art, like, is it a front? Is every business just a front for drug trafficking, child trafficking, just terrible things?
I mean, obviously not every business. There have to be some though, for sure.
Have like the financial thing. Like, you're saying that these guys have no real value actually, because you can make more money doing general sort of fun thing. So does anything like in our modern world, aside from like buying seeds to plants in the ground, does anything have like inherent value anymore? Do you know what I mean? Or is it just like a cover for something else, for laundering?
I don't know if it's a cover for laundering, but I think people argue a lot with like all these massive financial investment firms and, these analysts who make, get the $1 million bonuses, make all this money, and yet the general market is outperforming them. I guess people are like, how has that been going on so long? Kind of like you're saying, like, what value are they actually adding if over time only like 20% of these investment fund managers are actually beating the market? Like, in that case, it is kind of crazy.
Yeah, we're creating that industry too. Do you know what I mean? Like, it inherently really have value because it's not a tangible, true thing. Like, if you're a farmer, you give somebody, and someone buys produce from you, there's a true exchange of goods and money that can be used for something else that's tangible. Like, when you get into these vague things, especially like when you said the modern art world, I was like, that makes sense. There's no true inherent value to that. It's decided upon, as it would be an easy way to siphon money back and forth because it's just arbitrary.
Yeah, like if people didn't really know what you did for a living and you had $20 million and say you got it illegally, but you want to start being able to invest it. So when you invest it in the like financial system, you don't want any big flags to raise of like, whoa, who is this person with $20 million?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the IRS will come in, check you with all those massive earnings you're getting on stocks with your illegal money. But like if you're able to somehow work some deal out where you go to someone else and say, hey, I come across a piece of modern art, make sure you bid $20 million on this. And if you buy this for $20 million, you obviously don't actually have to pay me $20 million. I already have it. But then people will know, oh, that's where that guy got that money. He got that $20 million from that painting he sold. And maybe the person who did the fake purchase from you, you could toss them like a couple $100,000 or whatever your agreed upon kickback is. And now your money seems legit. It just seems like that'd be like it's so easy with if you're already connected to that world. Because I think with bidding too on that like really expensive stuff, people really like being like anonymous. So if you could bid at these auctions and no one might ever know who the buyer is because they're anonymous. So I think it's really easy to like be elusive when you're going through that.
Well, yeah, and it also makes the industry more exciting because you're like, oh, it's who knows where this went to? Who knows who owns this piece of art? Like it's amazing.
Yeah, then you just gave that piece of art potentially the value of $20 million, even though
it actually was purchased for potentially $100,000.
Yeah, it has no like. How do you even? It's hard to really compare it to anything because it's not really adding any value.
Well, I guess true. And the magic of art is you can't compare it to anything else because every piece is unique and special.
Yeah, you could buy it for $1 million and then the next year maybe no one's going to pay more than $100,000. Like just no one wants it anymore.
Mhm. And if the person is already dead that created the art, then you go, well, they can't create any more of it. So let me inflate the value of this, sort of whatever I decide, because it's. And then if the art world agrees, then everyone goes, okay, that's how much it's worth. Yeah, and kind of along the same vein, because I was just visually, whenever we're talking about art, I was just thinking of the Banksy painting that got shredded. Who do you think Banksy actually is?
Yeah, I actually thought about that because, like, I don't know if anyone, like, are there even pictures of him?
No.
I guess,
Banksy
so,
is.
Yeah, that is crazy. He's been able to like keep private for that long because you would think someone would know who he is and he'd get like, I don't know, pointed out in public or
Found out, or someone would see the art being
yeah.
posted.
It is
My
pretty
guess is
wild.
that it's a group of people. I think
I would
Banksy's
think so
doing
too because they do stuff all over the country, and if it was one person, I feel like it'd be way easier to pinpoint. So that makes more sense that it could be like,
a collective.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird name too, Banksy. Like I wonder what the origin.
Yeah, I don't know where he would have like pulled that from.
I just hope it's some like low life, kind of like scum kid. You know what I mean? Like for some reason, I hope if it's just one person, I hope it's some kid that has no art like knowledge, educate. Like, you know what I mean? I hope it's just like some poor kid that everyone in the art world is getting all pumped about.
Well, it probably is someone that doesn't have like formal. I mean, he started with all the street art, so he definitely could be someone who's just always done street art, got really good at it, and then people started admiring it. I would think more so it'd be that than some like art school educated artist. I would think it'd be more like someone from the street.
Well, I didn't even realize it says that he's an England, or Banksy is an England-based graffiti artist, political
I think he's
activist,
from
film director.
yeah, I think he's from London, or I think that's where all it started.
Yeah, and it says that his identity, the two names are most often suggested are Robert Banks and Robin Gunningham. Pictures that surfaced of a man who was supposedly Banksy pointed toward Gunningham, an artist who was born in Bristol in 1973.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
And it says that according to Daily Mail UK, his net worth is around 20 million.
Yeah, I would think he could probably get like if he actually. Because he makes fun of art auctions, saying how ridiculous it is that people pay that for art.
Mhm.
Like he just how crazy it is. You know, he's someone his stuff will sell for millions, and he'll be like, I think he had one thing that was like, "You're an idiot if you buy this." Like that was like something like that was like basically what he sold,
Yeah.
and someone probably paid hundreds of thousands or $1 million for it. But I would think at one auction, if he really put all his stuff out there, I feel like he could probably get 20 million in just one auction alone. So I wonder if he like might have like all this other money that's just not accounted for, or he just doesn't really. I guess yeah. How is someone really going to know how much money he's made if he's that private?
Yeah, my guess is that he probably has money all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, I mean, they don't even know who he is. So, I mean, how can you know, even,
You couldn't really track it.
yeah, keep track of taxes if they don't, their identity is vague. Yeah, I would love to just be in one of those, like, Sotheby's millions of dollars auctions. Like, it would just be wild to see the people that have the money to bet on that sort of stuff, or not bet, but pay for potentially.
Yeah, and a lot of people who are at those, they're not even the people. They're like
The placeholders.
they're curators. Yeah, who are like they're on the phone with them. And they just pay some whatever trusted advisor to actually go to the auction and hold up the paddle.
Yeah, wouldn't it be good if that was your job? You just go to
Oh,
fancy.
that'd be great. Yeah.
I wonder how much money those people make.
Yeah, find that job.
I feel like that would just you'd feel like a lackey after a while. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like whenever you're in that circle, you're near the circle but you're not in it. It almost makes you more resentful than if you were just living your life. You know what I mean? And not attached to that crazy amount of wealth.
Yeah, I'm sure the first to be super exciting, but if you didn't really get many kickbacks or perks, you're just some like lowly helper.
Yeah. I feel like you would get really angry after a while. You'd be like, well, I'm so close to this, but I'm not
So
actually.
far, yeah, you're close to it, but you'll never really get to that, even close to that point.
But someday, Nate, you'll get your fancy piece of artwork.
I don't know. Like, I feel like even if I had a lot of money, that's one thing I really,
What do you spend money on?
yeah, some like crazy painting.
I like photography artwork. I would get something. Have you seen Slim Aaron's, his work? He did
No.
photography from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He does the famous picture of the wealthy people in Palm Springs by a pool.
I don't know that.
Okay. If you saw maybe a piece of photography that he's done, you'd be like, oh, that seems familiar.
Hmm.
It's sort of colorful. Again, it's very mid-century, very expensive. He was like the photographer that photographed like wealthy people all around the world, like during the 50s, 60s, 70s. And so he's like super well known. And his, you get a piece that's like authentic framed artwork, and it's like, I don't know, a couple grand. But like that would be my version of like fancy artwork.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like that would probably be the limit of the amount of money that I would spend on art.
Hmm.
And I
Probably
feel
mine too.
like once you go beyond that, then it's like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to get a giant abstract $10,000 piece of artwork in my house. That just seems like, meh. I mean, you can probably find one for $5,000 that looks the same or similar.
Agreed.
But who knows? Maybe I will be that person that buys expensive artwork. And if I do, bring me back down to earth and shame me for spending all that money.
Noted.
But it would be a good problem to have, to be, spending all my money on artwork because I have an excess of it. But I can't believe, wow, we've done over an hour. Let's, any question or thought you wanna end on tonight?
Nothing tonight. I do think it would be cool to have like if anyone commented in the comment section and like pick a topic to discuss. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, suggest a topic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would be
Go
what would be
ahead.
your comment to end on?
Um. See, I have all these nice like little show notes that I have that to keep, all my other notes, but I never have a succinct way to end.
Isn't this how it should be, right? Irish goodbye. Maybe there is no right way. It's just click to hang up. Sometimes that's the best way.
Yeah, how about this? We'll keep true with our we'll practice what we preach. I'll do my sign off and then we can go. So yeah, thanks for listening to the Happiest Sad Person Podcast. An Irish goodbye. Email with thoughts, concerns, questions at 11jacobsa@gmail.com. Comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. What should we discuss next? What do you think of our fire movement episode today? We accidentally made this a financial podcast. Just this episode, though. We'll be on to more topics next time. And yeah, thanks for listening and sticking with us so far. And see you in the next episode.
Adios.
All right, bye.